Okay, well, we'll go ahead and get started here. We're going to be discussing 5 ways sales automation can help you. And of course, kind of point of the thing is we've got a lot of different people from different departments that join these, right? So we're going to try to hit each one of those. So just a real quick introduction. I am Josh. I am a technical solutions specialist with KETIV. I've got 20 years in manufacturing. That's doing a wide array of things, predominantly engineering, but even while doing engineering, I was involved in lots of different initiatives, from manufacturing engineering and plant expansions to starting a quality department, making us ISO compliant, things like that. So a fun fact about myself is this is what I like to do most weekends. So that's actually a picture I took of one of my buddies. I was flying on my back just under him by about 5 feet away at over 100 miles an hour. It is really fun. So fun fact for me, maybe not so fun for other people. So we're going to have a quick poll to start us off here. And you can see here, question is have you used CPQ software before? Of course, some of you may not even know what CPQ is. And so we'll get an introduction to that here in a little bit. I'll go ahead and while that's running, we'll move on and we'll come back to those answers here in just a minute. So we'll give you all a little bit of time to answer that. So what are some current problems that manufacturers are facing today? Well, there's a number of studies, and one of the studies I have looked at previously in a different session is this one here. And kind of the key areas that really stood out, not only to me, but those we had a poll at the time, were these particular areas, which is, of course, financial impacts. The biggest that the poll pointed out in our live poll was the impact to workforce, particularly being the need for highly skilled workers, right? We have a unique situation in the market today that has never happened before. It's always been an issue of not having enough workers. Now we have plenty of workers, but they don't have the appropriate skills. And so the ones that do have the skills that we have, we really got to use them to the best that we can. There's decreased customer confidence, and supply chain disruptions are a big issue. And of course, there's always the fear of a global recession. And so with that in mind, what do manufacturers need to do to face these things? Well, we need to reduce the time to produce. We also need to reduce our errors so that we can increase our efficiency, better utilize our workforce, which is the next piece. We need to become more versatile so that we can better deal with supply chain disruptions. We can better deal with a recession, or just better deal with customer needs, right? Because their needs are constantly changing as the market constantly changes. So we need to have flexibility and versatility to deal with that. And we need to provide more value to the customer. The reality is there's still a lot of money out there, but people are just being more choosy, right? And more specific with where they're going to spend it and making sure they get the most value for their dollar. Of course, if we do all those things, that will help increase the bottom line, both through increased sales, but also profitability through higher profit margins on each product. So what is sales automation? What does all that have to do with sales automation, right? So that's what we're going to get in here. So it's the automation of product configuration. And this is a little different than, and we'll get into this here in a minute, but customizing a product versus configuring a product, okay? There's a very important distinction there we'll get into. Automation in the pricing of the product and the production of the quote also being automated. And of course, we understand, that to do that, it's got to be governed by a set of predefined rules, right? And So with the area of configuration, once again, configuration, not necessarily a custom product, okay? That configuration can ultimately be configured by either the customer, a sales rep, or an internal salesman. And I'm going to go ahead and define what I mean by configuration. Okay. So a configuration is where we have a broad set, and it can be a very broad set of options or choices. Now that can even include something like, for instance, I came from the HVAC industry. Okay. We did large, very large ones. And we called them custom, but they were configurable. But this could be what engineering would term parametric values, okay? That HVAC unit could be extremely large, in some cases larger than my first 2 houses, but they can vary in length and width, right? So they have a large amount of variability there, but that's still a configuration, right? In that it's always a cube type shape or a cube attached to another cube. Those lengths and widths and heights might vary, but it's always a cube. It's not today a cube, tomorrow a triangle, the next day a circle, the next day a trapezoid. Okay. If that was the case, then we'd be talking about maybe a more custom situation in which we go, it's just a completely open box. Customer can do whatever they want. If they said they want it to be like a snake, then we do it. Okay, that's custom. Versus a configurable, maybe in a parametric way, but it's configurable. It's got a length, width, and height, and you can configure that length, width, and height, however you choose. Then there's automation of the pricing, in which that pricing would be produced automatically based upon the configuration that is chosen by whether it be the customer, sales rep, or internal salesman. And of course, this pricing can include variables as well. And once again, an engineering term, be parametric. It can include discounts specific to that customer or region, or it can have other variables based upon a region, not just the value of their currency, but other factors as well, whatever you choose. It could include variables for construction methodologies in order to help produce accurate pricing as well. It can also include the ability to apply customer supplied parts, or in this case, true custom changes, but they're managed, right? So you get 99% of your pricing automatic. That 1 or 2 parts, that's where somebody has to come in, put the price for this specific situation that is truly custom, right? And then we can automatically generate a quote, okay? And this would be generating the whole document, the wording, images, bill of materials, all that type of thing could be generated automatically as well. And this could ultimately provide a direct to the customer. Of course, we can go through a set of approval internally before providing it to a customer and so forth, whatever your particular process happens to be. So what are the benefits of this? So benefit number 1 is we reduce the time to production, right? I know in most cases, I've heard it pretty much my whole career that production is king, right? If you're not producing, you're not making money. And that's absolutely true. So if we can reduce the time it takes to get from the customer to actually producing the product and getting it out the door, then ultimately we can make more money and produce more. This is what automation does. The time it takes to configure that product, okay, that's boom, reduced time. The production of the pricing, the quote documentation, the bill of materials, all those things take time, right? And that's time that we're not producing a product. So if we automate those, boom, we're ahead, we're producing more. This also provides the ability for connectivity, right? We can connect to, for instance, a customer resource management system. We can connect to the enterprise resource management systems. We can even connect to the 3D models and drawing generation abilities through this, right? If we know what the product configuration is, we know what those variables are, we can then apply them to the 3D model and create the drawings, provide those to the ops. And once again, we're well ahead. And this also brings up, and I might be skipping a little forward here, but I'll be hitting this point because it's a very important point, but it brings up the ability of now in all these areas, people can focus on, for instance, customizing, right? And doing other types of improvements. Benefit number 2 is reduced errors. Okay, so where are these areas that the reduced errors are in? Well, product design, right? Anytime we have somebody involved, a person, opportunity for error, because we're not perfect. Okay, and that's just the way it is, right? So anytime we can automate that reduces errors. It also means that we can once again use the knowledge, the deep knowledge of our personnel to be doing either customization or error checking. And because they're not producing anymore, they can check for those errors. And by having a fully defined product, and that automation reduces the errors as well. In addition, it reduces errors in communication. If we have the customer or sales reps able to put the data in directly instead of trying to communicate over phone and word, where once again, there's opportunity for misunderstanding, we're reducing errors. Reducing errors in the quote process. I know there's a lot of that goes back and forth, and there's this constant back and forth between, once again, the customer, the sales rep, the engineer, trying to make sure that everything's right, everything's aligned, that everybody understood everybody's on the same page, right? We can reduce all that back and forth and the errors in quotes, errors in pricing by having that connectivity between systems so that we're all looking at the same data, right? Anytime data is duplicated, that's opportunity for error and mismatch, because that's just more that we have to try and keep up to date. Same with the bill of materials, having that connected from engineering all the way through the whole process into the ERP system. Ultimately, all that information feeding the models and drawings, once again, reducing errors if it's automated. This ultimately increases the efficiency across the whole value stream. Once again, allowing our highly skilled personnel to actually use their high skills that they've developed after all these years. If something is repetitive, doing something over and over is not really using those skills to the best of our ability. And that gets us into benefit number 3 of utilizing our workforce. Okay. And that can include the sales workforce, right? They can increase their effectiveness, right, through better communication, whether that's once again through a direct data input, but also providing things like visualization, okay, to the customer, so that once again, they can quickly and effectively see exactly what it is they're getting and refine that configuration and what they actually want. They can therefore produce or pursue more leads and pursue more customers, because they're not spending the bulk of their time attempting to configure a product or communicate the configuration of that product from the customer to the engineers and so forth. And that allows them to make more sales. Engineering can be better utilized. One, it frees up their time to do things like innovate as well. That innovation can produce more product or better product, right? So we can meet the customer's needs, particularly in this constantly changing and highly competitive market, right? It also provides the ability for them to improve quality through that innovation, find areas in which they can reduce cost in the parts that are utilized, and improve the longevity of those parts and pieces. And ultimately, these result in reduced cost as well. And this may even be in the form of innovating and improving the manufacturability of the designs, right? Which will once again reduce cost and increase output. And that leads us to manufacturing. To all these things result in them producing more product. One of the key areas in the reduction of errors, less scrap, the less errors you're having to deal with, the the more you're able to produce, because that's more time spent actually building the product versus fighting problems or spending time with band-aided processes within the shop in order to catch errors that are coming down the way anyways, right? And all this results in improved quality. Benefit number 4 is versatility. So one of the things this does for us is it allows us to fully capture what are all the possible designs that you can produce. In a lot of cases, we don't, as manufacturers, we don't even fully realize what all the possibilities are that we can produce. And so that's a big advantage of not only knowing all that, but then being able to easily portray that to the customer, all the possible configurations, all the possible options, and also portray it in a way that is easy to understand and utilize. This also removes the unknown, right? We then know exactly where that line between configuration and customization is. We know exactly when we need to get engineers involved to design something specific or new specifically for those customers' needs. This also, well, that's really what I was talking about, right? The ability to focus on custom designs. We get quick and accurate bill of materials, okay? And this allows, one, by knowing all the possible configurations and getting the bill of materials as soon as something is configured, whether it's order or not, that allows for more accurate future predictions on what we need to order ahead of time. Even in a custom product situation, we're going to know that, okay, we get approval so much quicker now. This is how often we get approval. We get it more often with these types of things in place. And so once again, we can order those things ahead of time, make sure they're going to arrive on time or earlier if needed. This all means we can handle these changes quicker as well. If the customer makes a shift and wants to make a change, we can handle all that much quicker because it's all automated. And this, once again, increases the efficiency across the whole value stream, making us more versatile in all areas. And ultimately, these all increase the value to the customer. Once again, quicker and more accurate quotes. The customer is able to get those. In some cases, they can get them immediately or within minutes, or maybe a day or two instead of weeks to months. This is highly valuable to the customer, particularly because, once again, the market is moving quickly, quicker than ever. This improves our delivery time. The very first thing we talked about is getting from the very beginning of the process, the first time you talk to a customer, to getting them a product that fits their needs, that is reduced dramatically. And that's what customers are looking for, right? Increased quality, we've talked about that, and improved buying experience as well. So not just an quality in the product, but increased quality in the buying experience and how the customer interacts with the manufacturer. And of course, once again, the end product. And all these things come together to make sure that we're actually meeting the customer's needs, right? With the improved buying experience, the automation, the ability for the customer to get immediate feedback, whether that be pricing, bill of materials, reviewing their selections, or a visualization and 3D model of the product that they have configured, to even augmented reality, to where they can view that product live in the actual environment that it will be utilized, walk around it, see it, and make sure that it's what they need. Then we can be absolutely sure that they're getting what they want. And of course, that increases the satisfaction of the customer. And all this results in time saving. Once again, we reduce the the loop back and forth between the manufacturer and the customer over and over again, making sure this is what they wanted. And then they come back, well, no, what we really want is something more like this. Well, okay, are you sure? We do this whole back and forth. That's dramatically reduces time through the design configuration possibilities. And of course, this also leads to the ability to truly customize a product because we know where that line is. The customer knows exactly what they're going to get, and then they can communicate more effectively. So we're going to do a demonstration here. So let's hop out of here. And so here we have one of our solutions that we can provide. This is tacked on. And I want to be clear that this is one solution, right? This is a pre-packaged, what we call CPQ software for configure price quote. Now, once again, we can provide a custom solution that can be programmed. There are situations where that is necessary due to particular customer needs. But this is a packaged piece. And just keep in mind as we go through this packaged piece is highly configurable. Okay, so here we kind of have this dashboard. Of course, this dashboard can be configured based upon who is viewing it, whether they're a sales rep or a sales manager. Of course, this is the internal to the manufacturer view. And of course, what they have here can all be configured based upon your particular needs. And we're not going to go through this whole process here, but I do want to point out that this can, and in fact, in this example, is connected to a CRM system. In this case, it's Salesforce, where we could build an opportunity, we could push it into Salesforce, or we could pull an opportunity from Salesforce. We could pull a lead from Salesforce or push one from here as needed. So what we're actually going to do here is we'll create a new opportunity that we can play around in, and we'll just call it KVA, and we'll just hurry right along. And we're going to create a solution. This company is, we'll call this KVA Hotel. This company produced elevator lifts. Okay, this is a fake company. Okay, here. So here we've started a solution for an opportunity. We can see we have stages to this. Once again, this is all configurable based upon what your processes are, what you want them to be. And in this case, we're going to add a product, and we do have the ability to just select some catalog items here. And here we're going to start an elevator solution. And there we go. Okay, so in this situation here, this is the interface in which we can fully configure this elevator. You'll see we've got this loading over here to the left. This is live visualization. Okay, so I can see the elevator lift here, and I can move into it, look around, and I'll show you here in just a minute. There's the ability to interact with it as well throughout the design. So here we just start with a set of questions, right? The number of floors, right? Because the number of floors is going to determine the number of buttons, right? So we'll say we got 6 floors and we get an immediate update. The number of buttons increase. The number of passengers, that can have effects down the road as to what the weight capacity is, for instance, things like that. The application, if it's medical, once again, we're going to have a whole nother set. You can see we have a dramatic change here in the elevator because we went to medical. And in this case, it's all the floor change, so it's no longer carpet, right? In case we have spills and things like that. So hopefully this is giving you an idea of when we talk about configuring a product, what we can ultimately do here. We can make the product change based upon these other values. For instance, if it's a truck, what type of road is it going to be used on? That can determine so many things, from the suspension and brakes and so forth. What type of load is it going to be pulling or carrying? Those types of things. So we'll hop over to, we can look at building characteristics, and that will all have effects and so forth. Solution parts. We're going to skip over here to something we can have a more visual result. And so we're going to look at the car interior. And we can see here, one, we can make a customer provided floor. And if we do that, they have the ability to input information about that floor. This would then trigger a separate process to occur, because now we have a custom part. So rather than immediately producing a complete bill of materials and pricing, this will push it into a separate process in which it will have to be overviewed by a manager and approved before moving through the process. In this case, we're looking at a hospital here. We're going to use this rubber floor. We can see, once again, we get an immediate change in that floor. We can change the walls. We're going to make this really look like a hospital. This is going to be a boring hospital, right? So we have green walls and so forth. We could even change the color of the ceiling or the type of lights. We're going to do some square lights. Once again, we can see that change there. Okay. And what else we can do in this environment, we'll expand it here, is we can actually interact with this environment. So let's say we want the buttons set higher. We can move that. We could move this down. We actually want this up here on top. Okay, so we can actually interact with this environment and change the design directly in the 3D environment. Once again, providing the customer the ability to see exactly what it is they're getting and to design specifically to their needs. Once again, that could be the customer. This could be a direct customer interface. It could just be for internal sales reps and so forth, depending on what you want. And all of this, and this is not something I necessarily have the ability to demonstrate, but maybe later I'll pull up a video. But this can be viewed in augmented reality from a tablet, in which from a tablet you could set this in a room and literally walk into the elevator in augmented reality and look around and see what the space is like directly on a tablet. Or in the case of a truck, which we'll probably look at here in a minute, you could look into the truck, walk around the truck, look under the truck, and see those choices. So we're going to save and finish here. And there we go. So we're going to step over to a previous example here, and just so we don't have to wait on things to process. Oh, I have it over here. That's right. So once everything's configured, we can also kick things off to a server in order to generate CAD information. Okay, so here we've got some images that we're generating. We'll hop over here to CAD files. So we can have drawings that are automatically generated and uploaded. These can then be either provided through this interface or attached directly to a quote that is automatically generated. We'll look at a quote here in a minute. And in this case, this is the lift itself, so that we can see the exterior construction. Obviously, there would be a lot more to this, but this is just the example that we have, right? We have the drawings. We can see we can export in JPEG, PDF. We can export the step file. And then we also have a TCS file. This connects to the CAD design automation. Basically, it is the capture of this specific configuration, okay? And we'll have a different KVA that gets into design automation in Inventor and so forth. But that's what you would pull up into Inventor, and it would configure to meet that, configure the 3D model based upon the choices that the customer made there. So let's hop back here. So here we also have the ability, we could push this to an ERP system in which it will compare the pricing, make sure our pricing is up to date. It can, produce an order number and keep all of that data in line. And we will actually, step it through the process here. And let's see, we create new proposal. And once again, this can all be configured based upon your particular needs. This is just an example here. So we're going to generate this document. Okay, so we now have a proposal, and we can look at it in PDF or Word. I'm going to download the PDF real quick. We'll take a glance at what that looks like. So here's our proposal that was generated specific to this customer and their specific configuration. You can see we have the images based upon the selections that I made. The selections, bill of materials. Of course, once again, keep in mind, this is all set up based on what you would like to be included in your proposal. If there's certain things you're seeing here you don't want your customer to see, that's fine. We would set it up, or you could set it up to produce whatever you want. Go down here, we've got, CAD files and images that are automatically attached based upon, once again, the selections and so forth. So very, very thorough here. And so we can push this or publish. And once again, the last thing I want to kind of point out here is that all of this occurs based upon on stages, right? And that once again, these stages are configured to what you want them to do, how you want them to operate. And these can change based upon what happens. Once again, if I put in a custom part, then that would trigger a different set of things that needed to happen, automatic notifications, things that need to be done in order to finalize the proposal and so forth. Here we can see the bill of materials and pricing and the different rebates that are being applied to this particular customer and so forth. So with that, let me pull up, since we do have some time here. I know there's something on YouTube here. Here we go. This is the one I was looking for, we were talking about earlier. So in this case, somebody's configured a truck. We have a truck example website that trucks can be configured and ordered. And in this case, he's placed that truck into the real world. He's able to walk around it. And once again, this truck is his configuration. This is all based upon his selections and therefore matches his specific configured truck. This could be used in a great example would be, for instance, let's say you create, you're the manufacturer of it could be not just a forklift, but say a crane that would be used in a shop. You could literally put that crane in the shop environment, walk around it and see what kind of space you're consuming or the space availability and what the extremities of its reach are in the actual environment in which you work, all before you order that product. So basically sitting in the truck, seeing what it looks like here. Okay. These are not just cool abilities to help make a sell. This is something that once again provides the customer to have absolute confidence that they're going to get what it is that they want and need. And therefore, they're far more likely to buy your product because the communication is clear and direct. So with that, let me bring back up my presentation here. And got to swap displays. So that is the end of my presentation. Real quick before we start Q&A here, I do want to mention that once again, each week we do have a KETIV Virtual Academy that you can sign up for. And we hope that you do. There's always the ability to contact us direct if you have specific questions or a specific situation you would like us to look at and see how we can help. You can contact us at support@ketiv.com. So with that, let's open it up for questions. When it appears we already have a question here, which is, does Tacton visualization leverage Forge, or is it using its own visualization solution? So it is using its own visualization solution. Interestingly, with that, we have done a lot of Forge work here at KETIV. In fact, I know we're doing some now for a customer, and we are actually working with Autodesk and Tacton in order to integrate the Forge abilities with Tacton as well. They each have their own unique abilities. So Tacton's visualization has some unique abilities that are specific to it and advantages, but as always, there are disadvantages to certain advantages. You have to give up other things. There's other advantages to the Forge situation. One of the biggest being is that so many customers already have the Forge platform and have a lot of this stuff built. And so Tacton therefore has the ability to export the data configuration, and with that we can then push that information into Forge and automate the Forge environment if that's something you already have. So if that's the case, if you've already got Forge or looking at Forge, Tacton is still going to work for you. If it's something you don't have and you like visualization, you can once again take either route. So those are both abilities. Any other questions? It's a very good one. All right. Well, once again, if there's any other questions, or you'd like to dig deeper into any of this software, feel free to contact us. We look forward to working with you and seeing you in some future KETIV Virtual Academies, and we'll continue to explore this environment. This was a very quick overview, and we will be digging deeper into specific areas of this, particularly the design automation area. We'll be covering that in the future as well. So thank you all, and hope you all have a wonderful day.